Hi, everybody. I'm Jen, and this is Robin, and we're with Hungry for More. And today we want to talk to you about judgment and the judgment that comes with the choices that you make around eating, what you're eating, if you're not eating. This is a subject that comes up a lot when we're doing our coaching. And it's funny, as Robin and I were talking about it, we both kind of, in our earlier days, handled this a little bit different. I tended to be more of, an example would be if somebody was eating something that I just thought was so unhealthy, instead of joining in, I would almost be purposeful about not eating what they were eating. Um, because I kind of have that natural rebellious attitude where I'm like, well, I'm going to do the opposite. I'm going to do the opposite. But in turn, that probably made them feel bad. And I didn't, what benefit did that give me? Like, what was the reason
Yeah.
I'm doing it? And Robin, tell them kind of how you said you used to be.
Yeah, my way is I would not want to deal with that situation as the discomfort of maybe them feeling bad if I don't eat what they're eating, or if I say no to something they're eating, they're going to think I'm judging them. And so I just give in and eat, even though
Yeah.
I wasn't hungry. I had made a decision not to eat that food
Yeah, and we're coming into summer right now. Not that this couldn't happen all year round,
all
various
year
things.
long. This
There's
is right.
always events, right? There's always things you're going to, or you're going out to dinner with people, you're going to lunch with people, whatever it is, or you're in your own home. It
Yeah.
doesn't matter. But one of the situations that we had that came up with one of our clients is they like to camp a ton during the summer. And now that she's kind of listening to her body and eating when she's hungry and not eating particular things. She's actually eating a particular way for health reasons. And so she is excluding things on purpose, whether she wants them or not, because of the health benefits for what pulling inflammation out. And she felt a little bit awkward when she was camping, trying to navigate that. She didn't have an issue not eating the foods, but people were like, why aren't you eating with us? Why aren't you doing this? And it can be a little bit tricky to navigate that when you first start. And I thought what you said to her was just such great, great wisdom. So tell them what you said.
Sure. Yeah. Her concern, like you said, she's with family. She is the one that brings these treats for her grandchildren. And like you said, her issue, because she's feeling so good with the changes she's making, she really feels a sense of commitment to that because it's helping her health so much. Her concern really was around, I don't want people to think I'm self-righteous, or I don't want them to think I'm judging them, or will I not be the fun grandma if I'm not partaking?
Right.
And the way, like we talked about, the way to answer to this is whenever you're speaking of yourself and your own experience from something, that's the most humble, authentic way to respond to these things, because it's not about me versus you. It's not about what I think about what you're doing, or, yeah, I'm no longer doing these things. I've learned and now I'm above. But what I shared with her was to say, well, first of all, I asked her, how does interacting with these foods, how does it affect your body? And she said, they hurt me. I get a lot of pain, and I want to be around for my grandchildren. I want to have the energy to be able to come on these camping trips. And so taking that authentic reason from her, we helped her with the response. And it was to say, yeah, you know what? I just learned that my body doesn't feel good when I eat that. And so I'm just not going to have any right now. She spoke to her own experience of it. It wasn't this moral value she gave to the food or this decision she's made that now is higher and better. It's just truly like, yeah, grandma wants to feel really good so I can come on these campouts with you. And for some reason, I just don't feel really good when I eat that. So I've just decided not to. I love what you shared after. Do you remember?
What? Sorry, getting a
I
call.
love the point you made with her about you are showing that example to them without saying the words of, like, what's the message that you're sending, in her case, to her grandchildren by answering authentically in that way.
Well, exactly. And this is the thing, sometimes, and I felt this way. I don't know about you, Robin, but if you open up my pantry, there are things in there that I would not eat that my teenagers and their friends do eat. And so it's like, am I being a hypocrite by
Mm,
eating this healthy food, but still
providing.
supplying? You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like it's kind of a weird thing. And I've gotten rid of, I would say, 85% of what I bought when all my children were little.
Mhm.
But I have to tell you, that example of making those choices has rubbed off on every one of my children. And I always tell this story about, I guess it was probably 3 or 4 years ago. It was 4 years ago. We went on this, I was the cook in the kitchen, and we went and we cooked for all these teenagers on this event that they were doing for several days. And part of their adventure was they were going to be hiking out in the hot sun, trudging along through. Well, on the way up to where we were starting, we were headed to Wyoming. We stopped at a little place called Little America.
Oh yeah.
All the kids, I think we had like 60, they all went and got ice cream cones. Well, I turned around and my son Jordan, who is a smarty pants, he's sitting at the table eating a chef salad. And I'm like, you don't want an ice cream cone? He's like, I was going to get one, but then I thought, I'm going to be hiking in 100 degrees later. What's going to make me feel better? And I was like, okay. And that's all I said, and turned around. And I was like, such a proud moment for me, because I'm like, he was totally listening to his body and planning on what was ahead. A junior in high school. That's huge. And then later that week, they were
amongst your peers, right?
and amongst your peers. He was literally sitting at the table with all of his friends, just doing his thing. He didn't care what people thought about him, and he didn't care what they were doing. It was a personal decision for himself. And later that week, my daughter, we had pulled out like all the leftover food for them to eat, like little garbage disposals. And she goes, do we really not have any more carrots and dip? So I pulled it out. I go, you guys are making me look bad. Like I'm forcing this on you. We kind of joked about it, but no, that's just from example. They certainly could have the other stuff, but they were really trying to listen to how their bodies felt and what it was craving and wanting.
Yeah, this is so great. And I hope you guys listening to Jen share this, that you're hearing she was proud of them, not because they made the right moral decision
Correct.
to eat the better thing than ice cream. But you said this, Jen, that you were proud because they were listening to their body. And that really is there a time for ice cream and
Totally.
that decision? Of course. It's not about that. And that is the beauty of what happens. And what we must do, to be honest, when we're in these situations is really getting rid of all the moral charge around it and seeing it just like as a decision in the moment based on the feedback my body is giving me. Like for your son to be able to recognize, I'm about to go hiking. What's that going to require of my body? How am I going to need to feel? What's the decision that's going to best support my body in doing that? Do you guys see how it's nothing to do with calories, nothing to do with good or bad, nothing to do with sugar and fattening? It was him coming within and saying, here's the situation I'm in, and I'm in a place that I need to make a choice with food. What's going to serve me for where I'm at? That is huge for him to have learned that, like you said, just kind of watching, for him to come inward and know those questions to ask himself, and that he did that. And you can't do that when you're just stuck on the moral.
Right. Well, and I don't want to take away, gosh, we could do a whole podcast on that, right? Being an example and doing all of that. But but that was a concern from this client when she wasn't eating the things they were eating. And that's a real concern that I believe a lot of people have. I know that I have. I know that other people, it's very, very common. But
yeah, I feel like this has come up almost every week in our coaching calls.
Always.
I'm going to Cancun with friends, and she's like, I'm not worried about
Right.
to listen to my body. I'm just worried about how people are going to feel about that. So
But when you're on a cruise or you're at an all-inclusive resort or anything like that, everybody's just like, how much weight are we going to gain this week? Because we can eat whatever we want, whenever we want. You know what I mean? There's just that mentality that is kind of associated with it, and it doesn't need to be that way. And I'm telling you, the power of, you just never know. It's not enough. Well, no, I'm full, so I'm not eating like you are on your fifth plate, right? It's not that. It's just, I feel really good. That was delicious. I love it, and I'm done.
yeah, and I can sit here and continue to visit with you and enjoy this company, regardless of how you're eating, and there's no judgment. Yeah.
Right. And so just like there's no judgment there, it's also important that we're not judging back the other way.
Yeah.
So if people are struggling with whatever they're doing, or they are, you're like, well, you're eating too much or whatever. No need. You get to worry about you. And that's what who you get to worry about is your body and your mind syncing up and being in sync together and listening to each other, having that respect. And so it's just, you're going to find yourself in so many situations this every day. Every day, I think.
Social situations with food. Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to speak to the people that are like me, where you really do feel like, man, me making this choice for myself is going to make someone else feel bad. And they're going to feel like I'm judging them, or they're going to feel uncomfortable because of what I'm choosing to do, because this was really difficult for me. And I want to speak to that. A couple of things I want to say is, number one, to remember that any choice you make for your body has no ability to create an emotion in somebody else's body. And when we're saying I don't want to hurt their feelings, if I say no, that's literally what we're believing is my choice to say no means an emotion. It's going to cause an emotion to spring up in their body and they're going to feel that way. It's going, how they feel about it is going to come from how they're seeing the situation.
Right.
And that's not in our control. And we are not the creator of that emotion. So it's important to understand it will still feel a little uncomfortable staying true to that. But when you recognize you truly don't have the power to create that emotion for them, it's a little bit easier to let go and let it be what it needs to be. The other thing that's important with this is I can't tell you how many times I would go in these situations and I would deny my body's cues and do the action, eat the food, do whatever, because I didn't want to offend, right? And how I wasn't true to myself. I wasn't true and authentic to what I knew I wanted and needed. And we feel that. We're in relationship with our body. It's a relationship. And it's no different. We were talking about this before. It's no different than going in a situation with a partner, a social situation, saying, listen, I'm not going to listen to you, and be quiet and go over there because I don't want people to judge me because of you, because
Right.
of you being around. That's really what I was doing to my body. And again, this isn't about whether it was cheesecake or broccoli or anything, or the food itself. It was about, I did not want the food for some reason. I didn't want to have it. And my body had given me that cue and feedback, and I still did it anyway, you know? And what does that do for a relationship in real life with someone else? It does the same with ourselves. And I think it's just important to reflect on. And it comes down to a kind of a mantra, if you will, a thought that helped me stay true to myself in this relationship with my body was, okay, do I honor my body, or do I fear what my mind is saying? Because it's my mind saying they're going to judge you, they're going to be offended, they're going to think you're too rigid, blah, 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 all the stuff. And it's like, okay, well, do I honor my body, or do I listen to the fear in my mind and respond to that?
And just move forward with it. Yeah, it's so awesome. And the thing is you'll find that it may feel a little bit awkward at first.
It
You know,
does
I've
at
shown
times.
up to a dinner before and not eaten dinner.
Yeah.
And I've enjoyed the conversation. They're like, you're not eating. And I'm like, you know what? I'm just not hungry. And it disputes it all. It's not, I don't eat that. I don't do this. I don't do that. It's just,
Yeah.
I'm actually just not hungry. And what are they going to
Yeah.
say? Actually, I have heard people say, well, didn't, I wasn't hungry either, but look at me now.
Yeah, but really, no, just it's reminding me, a couple of months ago, I had forgotten that I was going to a farewell lunch for a friend, and I just totally forgot that day. So I ate breakfast and was fully satisfied. I'd eaten an hour before, and then I realized it was time to go and was like, well, so I came and I'm like, sorry, I ate. And so I'm just going to sit here and visit. And it was lovely. So, kind of to recap and come back around with this, whether it's food or whether it's your choice with other things on how you do things with your kids or how you spend your money, we're always going to have a social interaction about it, right? And when you learn to do this with food, it strengthens your ability to do it in other ways. And truly, when you speak for yourself without any self-righteousness, without any judgment towards others, and you're just speaking to what's true for you, that is the most loving way for yourself and for the other people that you're interacting with. And it doesn't mean you'll zero have discomfort, that you won't be judged. You may be judged, but that's okay. But yeah, we have really found that that's the way to go about it. Yeah, well, I'm just not hungry right now, but I'm happy to sit here with you. Anything else you wanted to say?
No, I think it's great. I think put your body first and just listen, listen, listen. And there may be times where you're eating right there with everybody, and that's totally fine too. Just make
Right.
sure that that body and mind are in sync and listening
Yeah.
to each other, and you'll be golden.
Right. I like that you said that, because conscious eating doesn't mean you're always eating different or not eating when other people are. It's just if you
No,
find yourself in a situation like that where you happen to not be hungry, or they're eating a food that your body's already said, hey, I heard after you eat this, and you've decided you're not going to, or you're going to limit that, how often you do. This is what we're speaking to. Conscious eating, for the most part, you're right there in it,
yeah,
eating with
absolutely.
people.
Yep, we're
So
not saying do or don't to particular foods. We're just saying
yeah.
don't if you're not hungry.
Yeah. Yeah. And when you've made a choice, whether other people are doing that or not, you can be true to that. So thank you
Absolutely.
for being here today with us, and we will see you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.